Damn it!
What's wrong?
I left something in the director's office.
What was it?
The picture. Ugh, how could I forget it?
Oh yeah, we must have set it down after using the face recognition thing.
Yeah, I'm going back. You two go on ahead to the warehouse.
I want to come with you.
Nah, that's fine. Why don't you head back to the warehouse, Sigma? The others are probably already waiting.
Alright. I'll see you two later then.
Right.
Bye, Mr. Sigma.
I watched them jog off toward the blue door. And then they were gone. Guess I should be back then. So question, how many times can we play the AB game to where Dio doesn't get out? That would mean betray whenever he's our opponent. Yeah, take forever. Especially if we get unlucky with the pairings, but I mean, it's possible. I stepped in the warehouse to find all the other teams already there. Kay and Luna, Fi and Clover, and him. The moment Dio spotted me, he dashed over the rightmost AB room and slid through the card reader. Yeah, we know. As he turned to look at me, I swore I saw a flash of a smug grin.
There. Happy? This time I waited for you to get back before I opened it. You see? I can be considerate.
Tenmyougi and Quark aren't here.
Yeah.
I guess they forgot something back in the room. They ran and grabbed it.
And they'll be here in a few minutes. No big deal.
While we waited, we exchanged information. Fortunately, none of us seemed very useful. None of us found anything, and we were no close to unraveling any of the increasing number of mysteries we've faced. With that discussion exhausted, we sat down to wait. Can Kay sit down in his armor? Like, oh.
Don't you think they're taking a little long?
Yes, I'm getting worried. What if something happened to them?
I'll go have a look.
Then I shall accompany you.
Nah, I'll find on my own. It's not
Just
that far.
don't look into the abyss too long, or you might become a monster.
That's, I don't think, okay. Look, I'm just going to the director's office. I'll be right back. Right, see you guys. Gave a quick goodbye wave and stepped out of the warehouse. I think I can skip this? No, I can't. Okay. That's fine. Can I at least skip the elevator? No, it's... Oh, they just skipped the elevator. Okay, cool. Director's office isn't that big of a room, I realize. Weird shape, but whatever. The director's office. Ooh. Are they here or no? Huh. That's odd. There's nobody here. The picture's gone, though. Tenmyougi and Quark must have been here then. I laid out the floor B map. They must have taken the door that faces a warehouse. After that, they probably went through the warehouse and out the blue door. Yeah, that's a much shorter route. On the other hand, I came through the red door, which is kind of the long way. Looks like we managed to miss each other perfectly. Ugh. Well, this was a waste of time. Shoot, might as well head back. I packed up the map and head toward the door when... Huh? There was a light on where there hadn't been a light before. What? Why is that thing on? You messed with it earlier, but nothing seemed to work. I felt a sudden wave of inexplicable, nauseating dread. Light stared at me, swallowed and cautiously edged toward it. Don't go towards the abyss, Sigma! The machine was in arm's reach. I stretched my hand out toward it slowly.
So, you finally made it.
No. You're...
I am Zero. I was the one who brought you here. You undoubtedly have as many questions for me as there are stars in the sky. As you can see, however, this is only a recording. I will therefore be unable to directly answer any questions. Ask if you wish, but I cannot respond.
Ugh. I considered taking a swing at him, but decided that was spectacularly futile and kept my bald fist at my side.
Now, where to begin? There are many things I wish to tell you, but unfortunately, our time is limited. As such, the information I can provide is also limited. I have chosen two things of great importance to tell you. First, I will tell you about termites. In retrospect, I suppose that's a rather odd thing to say. I imagine you look rather bewildered right now. Perfectly understandable. The person who kidnapped you and threatened you with death is lecturing you about insects. I suspect it hardly seems fair. Nonetheless, this is very important. In a way, it will determine your fate. So I ask that you listen carefully. Have you ever seen a termite mound? They are splendid structures. Some might even call them works of art. Termites are natural architects, and their mounds are both structurally sound and make excellent use of space. So, are they following some sort of plan as they build? Are there termite blueprints, detailing which room goes where? No, of course not. Each termite is simply an oblivious cog in a tremendous machine programmed by millions of years of termite DNA. It is doubtful an individual termite has any idea what its contributions are helping to create. But a human does. We can appreciate the elegant forms of their alien cathedrals. We can see the simple beauty of their perfect functionality. We can understand the splendid planning of their structure. In other words, only an intelligence of a higher order can understand the beauty of what the termite builds. Now, consider humans. Why are we alive? Why do we love and give birth? Why do we create? From where do our cultures spring? There are many theories, but no one knows the truth. We are oblivious cogs in a tremendous machine programmed by millions of years of human DNA. No doubt you see now what this analogy is supposed to illustrate. Yes, I mean to say humans are not different from termites. We trudge through our lives with no greater understanding of our ultimate goal. You might say we don't understand what we're building. Only an intelligence of a higher order than ours can understand what we're doing. Imagine how we might look to such an intelligence. We may be building some structure so perfect and elegant, we can't even perceive it. Whatever it is, we've likely been building it on a dimension just above the ones we know since time immemorial. If we are like the termites, then what we've created is almost certainly something of tremendous beauty. And you are about to catch a glimpse of it. Or have you already? Well, that's enough on that subject, I think. Consider what I've said. Now, let's move on to the second topic. It is somewhat more immediately meaningful to your life, and, in fact, the lives of several billion other people. I realize this is rather sudden, but I have a password for you. It is the password to disarm the bomb, numbered 1.
Bomb?
Are you ready? I will only say this once, so pay close attention. The password to disarm the number 1 bomb is BQZ, RGJ, DXR.
I had no idea what he was talking about. What bomb? Was he saying there were bombs? If he'd guessed at my future confusion, he showed no sign of it.
That is the last of the information this message was meant to convey. Before I go, however, I have a warning. You cannot tell any of your companions what you heard or saw here. If you do, you will be penalized immediately. I hope we will meet again someday. We would have much to discuss.
Wait. God damn it, you can't just spout all that crap and disappear. I found myself yelling at empty air. The hologram had disappeared. Ugh, what kind of an idiot does he take me for? Termites? Other dimensions? How could that have anything to do with kidnapping us? Shit. Kick the shit out of a nearby shelf.
10 minutes. All play if no.
Ah, crap. Need to get back. Not like there's any point staying here. Spun around, ran out.
Grandpa! Look! Mr. Sigma's back!
Took you long enough.
Where are the others?
In the AB rooms.
They went in already?
Yep.
Why didn't you two? Have you been waiting?
Yeah! Grandpa said there was something he had to tell you before we voted, no matter what.
Oh?
Nothing that significant. Just wanted to tell you we're going to choose ally this round. That's it.
And you had to tell me that no matter what? Seems kind of pointless. I mean, words are cheap. You can promise whatever you want.
True, but we've got something to back it up. Just hear me out.
Okay, go ahead.
Quark and I both have 8 BP. We're already on the home stretch. So what do we need to get to the magic number? Well, we need you to choose ally. If you do that, it doesn't really matter to us what we pick.
You'd get to 9 whether you got 2 or 3.
Exactly. That being the case, we don't have any reason to betray you. And if we both choose ally, we both gain points.
True, but you may have considered that I'll choose betray. That would mean you chose betray to protect yourselves.
But that's why we're telling you we won't choose betray.
Mm-hmm.
Can I trust you?
Of course.
Alright, then tell me one thing. Let's say we do this. We both get 2 points. That means you and Quark will have enough to leave, which is great for you, but I'll be stuck with a measly 5. How do I know you're not just going to open the number 9 door and leave us set in the lurch?
I can guarantee it. I can
How?
give you my word. I will not open the number 9 door, even if I have enough points to do so. I swear it. We aren't going to abandon everybody else just so we can escape.
I swear too. I promise.
Man, so all of you got is a promise,
When
huh?
I make a promise, I keep it. Trust me.
Please! You've gotta trust us!
Alright, fine. I'll trust you.
2 minutes remain until Ambidex game polling closes.
We're counting on you, Sigma.
You gotta choose ally! You promised!
With that, they turn right into the room. I'm guessing I get the very left one because that's just my room. Well, guess I should get moving. Yep, I always get the left one.
One minute.
I had a decision to make. Should I trust Quark and Tenmyougi? I couldn't believe they were telling the truth and still betray them. That would bring my BP to 6. I'd be that much closer. And choosing betray would guarantee that they wouldn't try to escape. Betrayal seemed like the safe bet, but
Please! You've gotta trust us! You've gotta choose ally! You promised!
Tenmyougi I could betray easily enough, but Quark? What the hell was I gonna do?
10 seconds remain. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'll believe him.
Round 3 of the Ambidex game has been completed. Results will be displayed in the warehouse. Thank you for your participation. Ambidex gates.
Let's go.
Results from round 3 of the Ambidex game. Please stop. Points have been assigned or subtracted accordingly. Please check your bracelet to see your updated bracelet points.
Hey. What the hell, guys? Why'd you betray me?
Quark had nothing to do with this. I made the vote.
Grandpa.
Alright, fine. Why'd you break your promise, Tenmyougi?
I only promised you one thing. We wouldn't open the number 9 door even if we got 9 points.
What? So you're not gonna leave?
Not what I said. Of course we're going to leave.
What?
Look, see Clover over there?
Wait, what? Don't tell me.
Oh no.
She's...
That bitch!
Wait. Quark and Tenmyougi have...
The words were barely out of her mouth when Tenmyougi and Quark ran past.
No! God damn it!
Clover, are you really going to leave?
Well, yeah. Why else would I open the door?
But why?
I'm going to go call the others, so we can capture Zero Senior.
Tenmyougi, are you and Quark going too?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Sorry, everybody.
So Sigma, happy? I kept my promise. Clover opened the door, not me.
Like hell I'm happy. That's some shady shit, Tenmyougi.
If you say so. I have to get out of here, and that's that. He's gotta pay for what he's done.
He?
Zero.
You mean you know who Zero Senior is?
Yeah. No point keeping it a secret now, I suppose. I know exactly who Zero Senior is.
What?
The number 9 door has been opened. It will remain open for 9 seconds.
Let's go! Come on, guys! Time to move!
Right.
Oh, wait! This is for you, Mr. Sigma.
Quark held something out. I looked down to see 2 folded pieces of paper. What's this?
It's a letter. I wrote it in the director's office before the AB game. I wanted to tell you what kind of guy Grandpa is. So, read it, okay?
He pressed it in my hands.
See you later, Mr. Sigma.
Then he turned and ran toward the door, Tenmyougi and Clover following in his footsteps. I was so surprised by the letter that I didn't even try to stop him before I could think of anything to say.
See you.
Goodbye.
The number 9 door has closed. This ends the Nonary Game. Thank you for your participation. As the game is over, all doors other than the number 9 door have been unlocked. Escape is not possible. Please enjoy your stay.
Shit! They're gone.
All we can do now is hope they bring help back.
Indeed.
I agree.
I looked down at Quark's letter and slowly unfolded it. His handwriting was still slightly uneven, but he'd filled both pages with writing. I began to read. It was a really stormy day when he found me. He said the rain was coming down so hard it almost hurt, but somehow he managed to hear a baby crying. Guess I must have been crying pretty loud. He took me home and he did his best to raise me, but he'd never been married or had a kid before, so I think it was really hard for him. He couldn't figure out how to mix the formula, so he was always carrying the directions around with him. Also, I guess I was a pretty picky eater, so if he didn't get the water to formula ratio just right, I wouldn't eat it. Guess it was kind of a pain, huh? But he didn't give up, and now here I am. When he found me, I was really small, and he was worried that I might not make it. That's why he named me Quark. Quark is a really small thing, and I was really small too. Grandpa didn't need to worry, though, because it turned out that I was pretty tough. When I was 1, he forgot I was sleeping in the bed of his truck and drove off, rolled out, went off the back, but I didn't even get scratched. Started walking when I was 2, and when he wasn't looking, I fell down the stairs. Didn't get hurt either. When I was 3, I got really sick. I had a high fever for a week, but eventually I got better. I guess you could say I'm pretty lucky. Anyway, I didn't really have any more accidents after that, and I was a pretty healthy kid. By the time I was 6, I'd started helping Grandpa out with his work. His job was to gather junk from abandoned buildings. Then he'd fix it up or pull out the useful parts and sell them. There were plenty of abandoned buildings, but finding good stuff in them was hard. You had to know which parts were useful or you could end up wasting a bunch of time. Every time I'd find something, he'd explain to me what it was, how it was supposed to work, how to fix it, all sorts of things. Usually, though, I just wanted to finish up work so I could go to the theater. The theater came to town once a week in a wagon. They'd show old movies or news. I went every single week, but Grandpa only went once in a while, and he'd only go weeks they showed movies. I forgot to tell you that I'd been adopted until I was 7. Well, the other kids on the block told me. Guess after Grandpa found me, he looked all over town to try to find someone who'd take me. A kid from my block actually had a mom, and he'd ask her if she would take me too. Gotta admit, I was pretty shocked when I heard that. Weren't a lot of kids with parents around, so hearing that someone lived with his actual mom was pretty impressive. I was also kind of surprised that Grandpa had tried to get someone to take me. Did that mean he didn't want me? The kid who told me about Grandpa trying to get rid of me was a real jerk. He was totally spoiled, and he'd brag to everyone about how he had a mom. He'd like to come up to me every now and again and tell me it must be hard not having a mother. It never bothered me before, but after I found out that Grandpa had adopted me, I started to think that maybe he didn't really want me. If I could work on my own, then he could get rid of me. I was scared to know the truth, so I never asked him. Then one day he took me to a bar in our neighborhood. During the day, of course. He went there sometimes to drink scotch, but I'd never gone before. When we got there, he just walked up to the counter with that grumpy look he has, and I thought, oh no, he's gonna make me work here. But I was wrong. I saw him pass something to the bartender, and then he picked me up and set me down on the stool next to the counter. The stool was pretty high, especially for a 7-year-old, and my legs just dangled off the edge. It seemed really high to me, and I was pretty nervous. Eventually, the bartender came back over with a glass of scotch and another big glass full of something else. As I looked closer, I realized that the second glass is full of some sort of brown liquid with a scoop of ice cream in it. It took me a minute to realize what it was. A root beer float. I'd never seen one before. I was so surprised. Root beer was even more expensive than the nicest alcohol in the bar. To me and the other kids, it seemed more like an urban legend than a real drink. But there it was right in front of me. I stared at the float. I still wasn't sure it was real at that point, and then turned to look at Grandpa. He looked back at me. I didn't know what to do, so I turned to the bartender. He'd already turned around and moved off, though, so I figured he must have put the glass down in front of me on purpose. Still didn't seem like it would be real, and I was just staring at it when Grandpa told me to hurry up and drink it before the ice cream melted. His gruffy voice sounded like an angel's. Is this really mine? He nodded. Words can't describe how awesome it was. I'd never tasted anything like root beer before. The creamy sweetness of the ice cream made my entire head feel light. I felt like the luckiest boy in the whole world. That's not an exaggeration, I really thought that. The root beer float was delicious, but what made me even happier was Grandpa. When I looked over at him, he was smiling. I know that's gotta be hard for you to imagine, but he really was. Right then, I didn't care whether he just found me and adopted me or not. He'd brought me a root beer float. That made me way luckier than some kid who had a mother but had never tasted root beer. Of course, after we left the bar, he was the first kid I bragged to. So Grandpa and I were doing pretty good. Until the fight. I was in a super bad mood that day. I'd torn one of my shoes that morning and some old drunk guy had yelled at me. All the junk I found was totally useless. The day was almost over and I was fed up, so I just grabbed some trash and took it back. When I showed what I'd found to Grandpa, he frowned. He started going through each thing I brought back, explaining why they were all useless. I got really mad and just yelled, "I don't care." Then he got mad and I couldn't take it anymore, so I ran away. I was pretty upset and I started thinking that maybe Grandpa had only adopted me so he could raise me to work and make money for him. After a while, I went and hid in an abandoned building, but by then I'd started to calm down and think that maybe I should go back and apologize. It had started raining pretty hard though, so I decided I should wait for it to stop. But that was just an excuse. The truth was that I was nervous. Part of me knew I'd done something wrong, but I didn't want to admit it. The rain didn't stop though, so I just sat there staring out at the gloomy gray sky. I imagined Grandpa coming to get me. It kept raining all night and he never showed up. I gave up waiting and decided it was time to go home. I was about halfway there when I heard somebody groaning. At first I thought I should just ignore it and not get involved, but I went over anyway and it was Grandpa. He was totally soaked and I could tell right away that he'd been there for a really long time. I yelled and he opened his eyes a little bit. He smiled weakly and said he was glad I was safe. He spent all night out in the rain looking for me. I felt awful. Grandpa had been out in the rain looking for me so long that he'd collapsed. I was horrible. He'd heard me crying in the rain, but I hadn't heard him. As I ran to get the doctor, I promised whatever god might be listening that if they could only save Grandpa, I'd never ask for another root beer float ever again. He got a real bad fever, and his temperature would go down for days. The doctor said that if it kept up, he would die. If he died, then I'd be all alone. There wouldn't be anybody left to care about me. The thought of that happening terrified me. Fortunately, I must have passed some of my luck on to Grandpa because a week later his fever finally broke. I was glad he wasn't going to die, but I was also a little scared. What if he had decided he didn't want a stupid kid like me around anymore? My plan was to apologize as soon as he woke up, but when the moment came, my brain just stopped. Grandpa started to talk, and it took me to realize he was apologizing. I didn't know what to think. He explained that he was an old man. That meant he was probably going to die sooner rather than later. He was strict with me, because he wanted to make sure I'd be able to make it on my own after he was gone, but after he'd been a little too strict. All of the things I'd worried about had been stupid and selfish. Grandpa cared about me a whole lot. He'd been worried when I ran off and he'd gone out into the rain to look for me. I tried to apologize, but when I opened my mouth, I just started crying. I don't think I've cried that much since I was a baby. But he just smiled and patted my head. I asked him if he'd ever regretted adopting me. His eyes got all wide and he said of course not. He told me that he was looking for a really important lady. And because of that, he'd had to give up on pretty much everything else in his life. But when he took me in and started raising me, he felt like he'd gotten some of what he lost back. That was when I decided I'd stay with him forever. Even if he said I couldn't,